in legends in leadership history. I'm curious on a couple of things that I heard that I'd love your insight on. You talk about celebrities and taking care of their life, and everybody knows the story of athletes, and oftentimes, I mean, with the NFL statistics.
But the other thing is, it's the military and the NFL are probably the two top groups that are most alike, because when a veteran leaves the base for the last time, you've been told what to do, how to dress, where to go, where to be at, what time, everything for at least 4 years, if not 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 years. An NFL guys the same way. They've been told where to be, how to dress, what we're doing, the whole 9 yards. And then their last day of the NFL, when they become a free agent and they leave that facility for the last time, and they think that, I'll get picked back up. And unfortunately, most won't nowadays because of their contract and the guarantees you'd have to pay that player compared to just getting a young guy coming in. So a lot of them don't get that final contract that they're waiting on. But the problem is like once I leave the base or the facility for the last time, they don't have coaches anymore to direct their path.
Sure.
That's what they're used to the whole time. Coaches, agents, everybody saying, hey, NCOs, officers, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And then all of a sudden they get on their own, and it's kind of like, what do I do with my day? Where do I go? What am I supposed to be doing? What am I, So there's very few guys that have a good understanding that this is where I'm going when I get out of the league. Same thing with military. I mean, it's one of the hardest things with military right now, too, is and I speak all the time down to transition groups in San Antonio and Fort Hood of, what to expect or kind of what you need to be looking for. Or, again, they need coaching, right? So, again, going back to square one in my book, Success is by Design, is throughout your entire life. It's not just at the beginning. It's not just at the middle. It's not just at the end. Everything we do in life, you have to find somebody who's been there and done it. And really, when people ask me, like, what's been my past success? Anything I do, I just cheat. I cheat. I just find out who's the person who has done this before. I don't try to recreate a wheel. I try to find out how some of the people have built their wheels and just enhance of what they've already done. And so that's and then I just go find the people who I need that has been there and done it, that are the experts.
So surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you are. And another thing that came to mind is you talked about how your dad kind of gave you a little bit of a leash.
Right.
And so now you've got a 24 and a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
And so if you rewinded the tape, TK, back to being a youngster again, and all the things that you learned, what are you telling your kids now? What are the top 2 or 3 ways?
Oh, their leash is tight.
Life?
First of all, their leash is very tight.
I figured such.
They, especially in the communities we live in, and what a lot of the other parents will let their kids do, and my kids are going, hey, we're going, no, you're not. And well, why not? Because you're not. Because we got bigger plans. We got other things we're doing here. And so I've been very fortunate with my kids. Really the bigger thing is the mom has been the bigger part.
Yeah.
In saying, no, we're not doing that. But for myself, I've been there, done it. I know what goes on after a certain time of night. And kind of like Rayfield Wright used to he told my kids this a couple of times when they were little. Coach Landry said their curfew was midnight, because nothing good happens after midnight, even for adults. So their curfew was midnight, and a little bit more explicit than that. But so it's kind of like the same thing with my kids. Like, hey, 10 o'clock, you don't need to be out after 10 o'clock when you're in high school. But we still check up on them, and luckily they're still on the payroll, so mama can track kind of where they're spending money. And, and even with my older son was at Tech, his biggest expense was Uber. And my wife's like, God, he's just spending all this money on Uber. And I'm like, I'd much rather him spend money on Uber than be drinking. He's a college kid. So I know he's out drinking, but I'd rather him be spending money on Uber than being an idiot trying to drink and drive, right? So it's just, as a parent, you just got to, you also have to, it's that sweet spot where you have to let them find their way too.
Sure.
And kind of grow and make some mistakes. And so you don't want to overprotect them where they don't make any mistakes. I want my kids to make mistakes. And that's another big thing in my book that I talk about is adversity. People who've never dealt with adversity, I was lucky enough to deal with it very early in my life all the way through and on a regular occasion. That adversity to me nowadays, it's just like chewing bubble gum. It's not that big of a deal because the other foot's going to land here pretty soon. A lot of people, though, that if you've never dealt with adversity, then adversity hits, a lot of them just they fold up, they're done.
Yeah.
And because they don't know how to deal with it, and it's just too much on them. And my wife was like that for the longest time. She didn't really deal with a lot of adversity, but then being married to me, she's learned it pretty easily now. So, luckily for her, the lady who takes care of her hair, who gets to dye her hair every couple of weeks or whatever it is, we get those grays out. She loves me because we keep her in business for sure, putting all those grays in my wife's hair. So,
well, this has been great story. A lot of perseverance, definitely in this story. And as we wrap up, just to kind of go back and summarize a few things for folks. So the name of the book is Stop Whining, Start Winning. If you're interested in all these natural products that TK has been talking about, it is Verve.com.
Verve Forever.
VerveForever.com. Really interesting stuff. And
only high end. We only do the high end stuff on our product page with CBD.
You bet. And then tell me just quickly about the Red River celebrity softball game. Tell me how that kind of all came together.
Well, it just I've done some celebrity softball games in the past. Playing softball in the Air Force, and then you get married and you have kids, and then dad's odd man out. You don't get to play anymore. So it's kind of like, hey, I want to do something fun to raise some money. And obviously softball is still was one of my passions, and so I called Marcus Luttrell with the Lone Survivor, and that was our first one in 2015. So we had an all-veteran team of amputees and guys and girls and people who've been blown up versus a celebrity team. And Willie Robertson and Taylor Kish and Clemens and Jenny Finch. I mean, we had a bunch of great celebrities play. And our first game we did was at Rice. And then second game we did was following year we did in Colorado Springs, and it was a complete disaster. I mean, just about the worst of the worst. August 22nd, it was 75 degrees that day. By the time game time, it was 48 degrees. Yeah. Every player was freezing. People were leaving. It was just ridiculous. So then after that, I kind of went back and looked, like, where did I mess up? How do we fix this? And then it was kind of like, why would I ever do anything outside the Metroplex? Like, it'd be crazy doing. What am I doing? I'm flying people from Dallas to somewhere else. Like, let's just figure out what we do in Dallas. And I was looking at maybe should I do offense versus defense Cowboys, maybe mix the cheerleaders in on both. What do we do? And then, well, it's kind of going through that. A friend of mine called me and it said, hey, do you want to go to the OUUT game with us this year? And I was like, yeah, man, probably, still about 7 months off, but yeah, count me in. And I hung up the phone. I thought that would be a fun game to do. And I have a lot of friends on both sides, OUUT. But my first call was to Rocket. And I said, hey, Rocket, what do you think about this? He was like, oh, bro, put it together and let me know what I can do to help. Great. So then I just started calling athletes. And then, we had at Frisco Rough Riders Stadium, which to me is the best stadium in the minor leagues. Yeah. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And then we ended up teaming up that first year with the Lone Survivor Foundation as well. The Lone Survivor Foundation has still been involved all 3 years. They get a $10,000 check from us every year through one of our sponsors, CoServe Electric in Denton, who's great friends of ours. But so they're the ones who actually, that's part of their sponsorship, is to give the $10,000 to them. So, and then probably about a month before the game, Rocket calls me and says, hey, what do you think about Matthew and Toby playing? And I said, Matthew and Toby who? And I know, I kind of got some names in my head, but Matthew, like, can you confirm last names? And he's like, well, Matthew McConaughey and Toby Keith. What do you think about them playing? I'm like, well, yeah. And so he's like, all right, call you back. And he called me back. He said, okay, they're both in. And really, we didn't know Matthew was in until probably about 4 days before that first game. And they just both came out and had a blast. Matthew plays that game like Game 7. Yeah. Like, he is the one at the end of the day, has the most dirt on the uniform, knees bleeding. He always brings his son Levi with him, who's our bat boy. I mean, it just makes it a lot of fun. Now, this last year, Matthew was filming that movie in England, the Gentleman movie, so he couldn't make it this year. And Toby had on October 10th, to Sammy Hagar's birthday. Sammy Hagar has a big bash at Cabo Wabo every year on the October 10th. And Toby's been doing that bash for 25 years. So this was the first year that those two didn't make it because of those opportunities. And like I told Toby, I'll go with you. Don't worry about it. I'll go with you at Cabo if you need somebody to carry your guitar. But, but we still had, again, it's great showing. I mean, everybody who comes and plays is just phenomenal. And it's just fun for the fans. And that's really what it's all about. It's just giving back to the fans and raising money for, Roger Clemens Foundation, Toby Keith Foundation, and J.K. Living, which is Matthew Just Keep Living. I mean, all three of those foundations are doing amazing things. And it's just a lot of fun. And then, like I said, after that game, everybody started, where's our opportunity? And so the Memorial Day game raised money for Carry the Load last year, which is a national organization that helps raise money for a ton of Veteran First Responders Foundations, and two of my Navy SEAL friends, Clint Bruce and Stephen Holly, created that foundation, and it's just unbelievable. And then this year it's actually going to be for Folds of Honor, which is another national organization that gives scholarship to children of fallen heroes. And like I said, that's going to be a lot of fun because we're adding the veteran game to that as well. And Carry the Load's still involved, and it's just going to be a lot of and that will be at Grand Prairie Air Hogs Stadium in Grand Prairie, Texas.
It's terrific. We got to wrap up.
Okay.
It was a great show. Appreciate you being on with us, TK. We'll have to do this again very soon. Remind us who the legendary leader was.
All right, here we go. The Breakfast of Champions first guy, Bob Richards. Pole vaulter.
Bob Richards.
Bob Richards.
Oh, I thought you said that TK had gotten it right earlier, but I guess not.
Yeah, the vaulting
The
Victor.
vaulting vicar is the
that
right
was his-
answer.
that was his
Okay.
nickname.
All right, all right. See, I'm telling you, this is why I don't do any good at this. I'm not any good at it. Well, folks, it has been a pleasure to have TK as our special
Thank
guest.
you guys for having me as
tonight.
well.
You bet. As we always do, we'd like for you to remember this, that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. Have a great week.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC, member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.